Welcome to the channel. For everybody who's celebrating Eid Mubarak. And yeah, what a lovely, lovely day today. Summers are finally here in Canada for people who are still not aware. But it's been long winters. And I mean, this morning I was just thinking, are we going to get cheated out of not having the summers at all? Because you're going to have pretty short summers. But summers are here finally, thankfully. Uh, the biggest question on everybody's mind, or rather on a lot of people's mind, whether people are in Canada who are Canadians and people who are temporary residents also in Canada, is what's going to happen with these people whose statuses are about to expire. What are you guys thinking? What are you planning to do? What are you going to be doing? uh, Help me understanding if you are one of those individuals who is in Canada on a temporary resident. Can you please comment and tell me, what are you planning to do? What are you thinking? What do you think is going to happen? I mean, of course, we all know what's going to happen. In the sense, like, if your status expires, your status expires. Nothing much is going to happen there. But what are you planning to do? What's your goal? What's your objective? Objective of PR, of course. But now that things are fast shutting down from all sides, in the sense of IRCC looking to curb with the dummy extensions in whatever manner. So far, we haven't heard much about that. We'll talk about it in a bit. I mean, they're looking to triage the applications in such a manner that the applications who are not eligible. So what is a dummy extension? Just for people who keep getting confused with dummy extension, is that dummy extensions are applications that people make regardless of the fact that they are eligible for that extension or not. So for example, if you're in work permit in Canada, you know for a fact you can't apply for work permit extension, but yet you apply because you get eligibility under section, I think, 183(5), and that allows you to be on maintained status. And if you're on maintained status, you can continue working. And people have been misusing or abusing that process since January of 2024, because until December 2023 you could apply for that anyways. So from January of 2024, people have been misusing, abusing anyways. They were doing it earlier also, but not that much. But now it's pretty prevalent. A lot of people talking about it being misrepresentation, etc., etc. I'm not going to get into that. Because at the end of the day, you're still doing what the law permits you to do. So if you make full disclosure as to why you're doing it, probably going to get shot down if anybody even says it's misrepresentation. However, because with so much of misuse with that particular process, the actual application processing times for work permits have skyrocketed to 238 days plus. And obviously, it's costing resources from IRCC, who will now have to handle those applications as well. So therefore, there is a triage system coming whereby they can cancel these applications right at the get-go. Therefore, you do not get too long an implied status, and therefore it just doesn't make any sense anymore. So that is certainly something on the cards, which we are hoping. A lot of people saying waiting for a CC draw, LMIA, or go home, leave, masters, go home, save and go home, visitor record, go home, visitor record, French, okay, go back, study or gain experience. A lot of people have different, of course, options that they're looking at. Somebody said super chat not working. Yes, I have disabled the super chat because today's session is going to be pretty short, as in I can't do for a bit longer, and then super chats keep going and I feel obligated to respond to them. And today I know for a fact I cannot go beyond a certain point of time, and therefore I have disabled the super chats today. Let's understand what you can and cannot do, and what you should and shouldn't be doing as far as your status is concerned. Once your status expires, okay, let's push that up first. Here. What is your plan after your status expires in Canada? So what are you going to do? What are you going to be doing? Limited options if you are a worker in Canada. If you are a student in Canada who no longer has an option for a postgraduate work permit, again, limited options of what you can do as far as you are in Canada is concerned. First off the bat, why do you want to continue staying in Canada? I mean, you spent a lot of money. Yes, you studied in Canada. You worked in Canada. You wanted to become a permanent resident. But at this point of time, given the circumstances, express entry, ridiculous draws that they are doing, um, uh, not too many other options. So the actual answer is just go back or go elsewhere. It may sound a bit crude, but that's not what I'm trying to do. Please do not get offended. Please do not come after me, because you guys just are very sensitive lot out there. So when I'm saying go back, what I'm trying to tell you is a couple of things here. First one is that going back shouldn't be that bad. I mean, unless of course you come from a certain country which is either under a threat of war or undergoing some sort of war-like situation, or there are some very difficult situations back in your home country, or you are in a situation where you simply just can't go back home for these life-threatening reasons. So that's a different situation altogether. But for large portion of people, for large number of people, going back home shouldn't be that bad an idea. Coming to Canada, you gain the studies, you gain the international exposure, you gain the international labor market exposure. Hopefully you would have learned something, so we can always go back and use it, because Canada cannot be the end game. Canada cannot be the this is it. Like, I mean, I don't have anything else to do in my life except living and working in Canada. It just can't be that, right? Canada can't be that. There has to be more to life. There has to be more to your own goals, your own path, than just Canada. Now, that is one for those people who have absolutely zero other options in terms of Canadian immigration pathways or any other immigration pathways. Go back home, make a life for yourself, look after your parents, look after your family, get married if you're not, check out the entrepreneur scene, check out the startup scene, innovate. You've learned something, hopefully use that and do something better with your life. I wish you all the very best. Now, for everybody else, let's start taking a look at things. First of all, if you're in Canada and if you still haven't learned French, you have only yourself to blame. Now, I know I've seen those TikTok videos and I've seen those Instagram videos, because people keep forwarding it to me and you keep sending it to me to take a look and answer this and this. Anybody who's guaranteeing you that you will learn French in 2 months to a level that you will be able to get your work permit, I do not know what to do with such people who guarantee you these things. I mean, how can they guarantee you? They don't even know you. They don't even know your language affinities. They don't even know whether how comfortable you may or may not be with the language. So how do they guarantee you these kind of things? But anyways, people do guarantee. And so please be aware of such people who guarantee anything, who are guaranteeing immigration, who are guaranteeing work permit, who are guaranteeing study permit, who are guaranteeing job offer, who are guaranteeing French language exam tests. Whenever they are guaranteeing, please just go the other side, first of all. Secondly, in order to be able to apply for a work permit without LMIA, there is a Francophone mobility program. Most of you are already aware. It should be ending this month, June, but there is a very high probability that it will be extended. And the reason the high probability of extension is because this government, the new Liberal government with Mark Carney as the Prime Minister, has taken it upon himself to increase the Francophone immigration quotas significantly by almost 50%. It was supposed to be 8%. He's already promoting 12% now. And with that kind of a push, I'm sure Francophone mobility program will or should or may get a push as well. So therefore, expect that program to be extended probably for another couple of years. If that is to happen, then under the Francophone mobility program, if you have CLB 5, level 5, NCLC level 5 in listening and speaking, you can apply for a work permit if you have a job offer where the employer is willing to pay the $230 compliance fee and give you a job offer. The job doesn't need just the job. The French is not the requirement of the job. That is not. So I'm not sure how it helps in the large scheme of things, this Francophone mobility program. But apparently, I'm sure there are some smart people who are thinking about all these things. Not for me to question them, but there is no requirement for you to be able to speak French at work. Your job doesn't have to be of a type where French language needs to be spoken or needs to be communicated. You need to communicate in French. So I can't think of an easier pathway. And though 2 months is fishy to learn French and get to that NCLC level 5, but to be very honest, 4 to 6 months is pretty realistic. NCLC level 5 in only listening and speaking. In reading, writing, you don't need to have level 5. Could be 4, could be 3, doesn't matter, but 5 in speaking and listening. So pretty good option there if you're looking to apply for a work permit extension, or if you're genuine extension, or if you're looking to apply for a work permit. Mind you, you don't need to be in Canada to apply for this work permit. You could be outside Canada also, and you could still apply for a work permit, provided, of course, you have an employer who says, hey, you know what, I will hire you. You've been a good employee, or you've been a good person, or I think you have that in you to be a good employee. So there you go. That's your straight away first option. Now, people who say, I will apply for a visitor record, this is another one of those things I can't really understand. While being a visitor in Canada, you can't work, you can't study, you will be spending in Canadian dollars, and in most cases, the conversion rate of Canadian dollars to your equivalent home country currency is going to be pretty, pretty high. Why would you want to stay in Canada on a visitor record? It just doesn't make sense, unless, of course, you have an interview lined up, you have an employer who says, okay, just give me some time and I'm working on it, or you have an LMIA in progress. But even if you have an LMIA in progress, or even if your employer is saying, I'm going to give you the LMIA, or I'm going to apply for an LMIA for you, even then it doesn't help you, because as a visitor, you can't apply for a work permit inside Canada. Your work permit has to be processed, will be processed by a visa office outside Canada. So, and once, even if it is approved, your work permit, you can't get a work permit while being in Canada. You'll be getting a port of entry letter. You will need to exit Canada, not the US. You will need to exit Canada to a third country and then return back to get a work permit. So being in Canada on a visitor record doesn't help you. Even if you want to apply for a study permit, if you're on a visitor status in Canada, doesn't help you anymore. There are some very specific conditions where you can apply for a study permit inside Canada. But again, for most people who have changed their status to a visitor, being here just does not make sense, at least not to me. I'm not sure if it makes sense to you or how it makes sense to you. But again, help me in the comment section. Let me know, why do you think continuing to be in Canada on a visitor status makes sense? I would love to hear that perspective, because I just simply don't understand why. Now, let's look at other options. What else can you do? Well, if you are on a work permit, your work permit status is expiring. It's pretty close to expiring. Can you apply for a study permit? Yes, you can apply for a study permit, because you're currently on a work permit, and you can apply for a study permit. Before I get on to that one, somebody is asking this question, which I think I need to answer. And it says, after French NCLC 5, can a person get an open work permit? No. What you are applying for is a closed work permit. Remember, I told you, you will need an employer. You will need a job offer from the employer. The employer will have to go to the IRCC portal, create a job offer for you, pay a $230 compliance fee, give you that screenshot, give you that A number, as we call it, the A number. And using that, you will then be able to apply for a closed work permit. Means you can only work for that employer, not for anybody else. So that's the open work permit thing. Now, being a worker in Canada does give you the provision of applying for a study permit again. And of course, you still need to make submissions as to why you want to continue staying in Canada. Why do you want to study in Canada? What does this additional period of study give you? What kind of an advantage, etc. It's just the same SOP. You will still need to explain. The approval rates are high, of course, for study permit. But again, I don't understand, why would you want to study again after having studied 2, 3, 4 years in Canada, having worked for 2, 3, 4 years in Canada. Now you want to go back to school again. It's going to cost you a lot of money. Now, don't again fall into the trap of all these private diploma mills, colleges giving you these admissions for 5, 7, 8, 10,000, 12,000, 14,000. That's all a money making racket for them, for you, money losing racket. Because yeah, you will be in Canada on a study permit, so you will have legal status. I hope you will be studying, because otherwise, I don't understand. 24 hours a week is all that you will be able to work in some of the colleges, in some of the cases. In some colleges, you might not even have the authorization to work. So again, what are you going to do with that study? That you won't get another work permit. You won't get another postgraduate work permit. The study probably is not going to add any additional points. So again, educate me, enlighten me, help me. I would like to learn from you, to understand, why would you want to change your status to a study permit? Now, I mean, unless, of course, there is a PNP program that you're targeting in a specific province, and that province would have you study there, and once you study there, then, for example, Nova Scotia has a critical worker pathway. For example, New Brunswick used to have a student connection stream, not anymore. Yeah, so again, I fail to understand why you would want to study, unless of course you are spouses or partners. One person has, one spouse or one partner has already studied, gained their work permit, and now the other spouse wants to study or will study probably a master's degree of 16 months, or this particular spouse also gets an open work permit, and that's the arrangement you're trying to work around with. Fair enough, I can understand that, and I can agree to an extent. Very expensive option, because for studying masters you will again be spending 35, 40, $50,000 to get that through, and then the living costs and the living expenses, etc., 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 quite build up there. So again, don't really, unless if that's the plan or that's the program, I don't otherwise understand. So again, where are we all coming down to? Again, we're coming down to the same thing. If your work permit is expired or expiring, being a visitor record doesn't make sense. Opting for a study permit, again, doesn't make sense. Pretty much going back home does make sense. Pretty much going back to a different country, going out to a different country pretty much makes sense. And let me give you another perspective, right? I tweeted this earlier, and I posted this on Instagram, and I got a lot of flack for it. So this is Canadian work experience gives you points. I'm sure you already are aware of that. First year, if you're, and I'm going to talk about singles only, I'm not talking about married couples, but so just single, as a single applicant, for first year of work experience, you get 40 CRS points. For the second year, you get 13 points. For the fourth, you get 11 points, and then 10 points and 10 points. That's the 5-year work experience points you get. But did you know that if you have CLB 9, if you have 2 years of Canadian work experience, for your third year of Canadian work experience, you're going to get only 11 points. But for your, instead of the third year of Canadian experience, if you were to go back home and get your 1 year of foreign work experience instead, you get 50 points, or rather up to 50 points. Would you rather take 11 points or 50 points? Now, look at people who are sitting at a score of 460, 470, 480, 490, even very low 500s. If you do not have foreign work experience, you are at a serious disadvantage. Now, a lot of people are calling it scam. So for those people, please just go and stand in one corner and cry there. You have a timeout. Don't do it at my watch. But calling it a scam, it's none of my business. At the end of the day, the idea is that you should have genuine work experience. You should be able to prove that this is genuine work experience. And if the work experience outside Canada is scam, then what do you call for work experience inside Canada? Because scams happen everywhere. People are faking work experiences. People are faking degrees. People are faking IELTS and English language and French language exam, except for the age. And in some cases, even the age. People are faking it till they are making it, but they're not making it anyways. But so where does it all stop? It all stops at enforcement. So that's IRCC's business. So let's just put that debate on the side for the time being. So please go back home, get that 1 year of work experience. And for people who are saying, okay, what if I get 1 year of work experience? Well, then try to gain 2 6 months each work experiences. Now, when I'm saying 2 6 months each, what it means is, let's say you have 2 years of work experience in Canada, go back to your home country or any other country for that matter, work for 6 months in a category. For example, education category. You could work as an early childhood educator assistant, right? Assistant doesn't need any background, doesn't need much education, doesn't need, just pure, simple finding the job and working in a daycare center as an early childhood educator assistant. For the remaining 6 months, so you complete 6 months, and then for the next section of 6 months, work as a cook, work in a trade category, work in a STEM category, if at least that is in your background. Hey, insurance agents in STEM category, cooks in trade category. There are some healthcare occupations, home support work, no, not home, sorry, nursing aides, assistant nurse, pharmacy assistants. I don't know, maybe there might be some other occupations as well. Identify those occupations which do not need any education, but with a little bit of experience, with a little bit of training, with a little bit of help, or probably doing some online certifications online, you may be able to get another 6 months. So now what do you have? Now you have great express entry score, high, very high, good CRS score. You will have eligibility in CEC. You will have eligibility in a category draw, not one category, but 2 category draws. And suddenly things will start looking much, much, much more brighter for you. And if you still have any work permit left, come back to Canada, continue working in Canada. If there is any provision for extensions, get that done. Hopefully, by now, you would have learned your French at least to level 5. Apply for a closed work permit, continue being in Canada while you're waiting for your PR application to be sorted. So, there are these strategies that you can still work around with instead of just being in Canada, getting frustrated, getting depressed, getting demotivated, just not being able to figure out what the hell to do, listening to all these TikToks, YouTubes, Reels, which are bombarding your head with all kinds of incorrect, misleading information, and then feeling all low and down. So that would be my recommendation. That would be my suggestion. Other than that, I just do not understand, as a given circumstances, what else can people do. Probably, if the time's up, then the time's up. Maybe it's time to go. Maybe it's time to go. People who are thinking of filing asylum claims, thankfully, IRCC has come out with a new, not IRCC, but there is a new Strong Borders Act already being tabled in the Parliament, which would not allow people who have been living in Canada from June 2020 onwards, if they have lived in Canada for 1 year, I mean, if they've lived in Canada for at least 1 year, then they cannot file asylum claims, which is a great one. For people who are illegally crossing the border, okay, they would not have an opportunity to file an asylum claim within the first 14 days. And after 14 days, they already have to prove there's a Safe Third Country Act there as well. So pretty good steps being taken now by IRCC or by the government, and hopefully they can clamp down. And all these people who are trying to first abuse the system and obviously bring disrepute to countries, to communities, to people, I hope we can get rid of that. So this is something which you must be aware of. This is something which you must be wary of. And the reason, I was just backtracking a bit, the reason why I say you should go back after 2 years of gaining work experience in Canada, and some people say, why don't I stay here for 3 years and then go? Well, yes, of course, you can go after 3 years, but wouldn't you want to get this done sooner than later? Number one. Number two, if you go later, maybe depending on what your age is, you might start losing out points on age. So you're again going at a disadvantage. Number three, immigration is an ever-changing beast. Every day there's a new change. Every day there's something else happening. Don't you want to get this thing sorted out sooner than later? I mean, again, you wait for 1 year and again you wait for another 1 year to complete your foreign experience. What happens if things have changed and you can no longer apply and there has been another door that has been shut? And you keep thinking, oh my God, I should have done it when Kubeir was saying it. I should have done it. So things, you should keep the mind open to these things and then figure out what works best for you. But at this point of time, if your status is expiring, probably going back might be a better idea than sticking around, just hoping that something is going to open up. Right, let's start with our weekly roundup. Okay, for people who are asking about super chats, I have disabled super chats today because today is going to be a much more smaller, shorter session. I need to scoot off. I have got appointments fixed back to back after that. So not doing super chats today. Do the super chats next week again. Starting with our weekly roundup, PNP draws. We got the express entry PNP draw. No, this is what IRCC has been doing to us, right? They've been playing with our emotions. First of all, we were not expecting an express entry draw this week. They didn't do one last week for whatever the reason was. So, but this week we thought this is not a draw week, so we were not expecting. But voila, they came out and they conducted a draw on the 2nd of June, issued 277 ITAs with a score of no, not 348. Score of 726. That was the PNP draw. And then the expectations were really, really high because we thought CEC draw should happen, will happen, can happen. But IRCC had other ideas. They chose to instead again conduct a meager small draw of 500 invitations. Therefore, the score for healthcare category for this express entry draw was 504. As I'm saying, it was ridiculous. I wish we could have more transparency as to what the hell is going on there. But IRCC chooses not to share, or rather, they want to sort of keep all the cards very close to their chest. We never get to understand what they're trying to do, what they're trying to think, and therefore leaves everybody out in the dark, more frustrated, more depressed, more not knowing what the hell's going on with IRCC. The express entry pool breakdown as of the 2nd of June now is back to square one as we were in February. Now, when I'm saying back to square one, now in February, obviously, as most of you remember, they stopped conducting express entry draws because they were going to remove the job offer points. The express entry pool breakdown with score of 501 at that point of time was 24,000 something. And we are back there, and the draws haven't been conducted. People are not being invited, and we are back to 24,000 people sitting with score of 501. Wake up, IRCC. You got to do something about this. These are all those people who you have been wanting to retain. Minister after minister, administration after administration, are actually the same government, but they've been saying that these people who are in Canada, and this is the reason why you give Canadian experience points, this is the reason why you give Canadian education points, that these people, these individuals have studied in Canada, worked in Canada. They have already to an extent have assimilated. They're already familiar with the way life in Canada is, and they are the best suited people. Why won't you conduct these draws now? You conducted that ridiculous 75 CRS draw. You conducted ridiculous program on TR to PR. What the hell's going on? I mean, I wish. No, not last year. 2023 March, IRCC conducted 3 back-to-back draws of 7,000 invitations, inviting 21,000 people in 14 days. I am really hoping and praying for that same miracle of 21,000 invitations in 14 days to happen here, because that alone is going to be the solution for so many people who are really, really in a bad situation right now with this whole thing. But, and as I said, but IRCC, you guys need to do something with this. As far as PNP draws are concerned, well, we had a draw with British Columbia. Again, this was mainly or largely entrepreneur stream draws with 14 invitations being invited. They did invite so far 42 people in 2025. And for people who do not know, British Columbia still has a reasonable entrepreneur stream. They have a base stream, and then they have the rural renewal stream. The rural renewal stream, which is quite popular, requires you to invest $100,000 in a business in a rural community. And once they have approved it, once you have got a work permit, you have set up the business, then you may apply for nomination. So $100,000 is the investment. $300,000 is what you need as your net worth. It's a good program. If you have that money and if you really have the entrepreneur streak, then this is a program that you may wish to explore. What else have we got here? Newfoundland and Labrador on the 29th of May conducted draw, issued 405 invitation, and also issued 54 invitations under their AIP program. Now this is their accelerator in action. Now I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but in February, Newfoundland and Labrador did launch a new portal called the Immigration Accelerator portal. It is just a portal to accept applications. It's much more structured, much more organized and an efficient way. So far, that's what they've been doing, or rather, they have been conducting draws through the accelerator portal. And as of today, they have issued 989 invitations already. The quota for 2025 is 2,525, including the AIP quotas for them. Alberta were a bit active last week. They conducted draws on the 28th, 29th of May and 3rd of June. Healthcare category, their cutoff was 60. The priority sector in agriculture, the cutoff was 64. And priority sector in construction, these are all express entry. The cutoff was at 67. So Alberta finally starting to make a little bit of movement there. And then, of course, Ontario came back with a big mega draw. And nowadays, even 3,000 seems like a big and a mega draw, right? With the way things have been happening. But this was also Ontario's first draw of the season. And 3,700 plus invitations sent out over 6 different category draws. Now, when I'm saying category, I mean they chose to invite people who have employer support. So the international student stream, employer job offer stream, and in-demand skills stream. Those were the streams that they targeted. They also targeted the Ready pilot that they have, REDI, invited roughly 847 candidates under that program as well. Overall, good move, finally. But what is not very good is they are not really moving along with their processing. Applications have been stuck with them since April of 2024, 1 year now, rather more than 1 year, and those applications are still in the process. Hopefully they get a move along as well, because they have already stated that yeah, this is, oh, where did it go? They have already stated that their quotas have been cut by 50%, and therefore this year they would like to play it very slowly, because they are playing only with 10,000 nominations for this year, 10,000 something, and they already have a lot of applications in their inventory, and they would like to first process those. Therefore now the processing times are going to be very slow till they complete all their quotas. Don't expect too much from Ontario. They've made it pretty clear. First of all, they didn't conduct any draws for the first 5 months of the year. Then they have come up and said that they do not have enough quotas for this year. Obviously, federal didn't really give them that many quotas. And with these restricted quotas, they are still working on the inventory from last year. Don't expect too many things happening in Ontario. Don't expect that they would be issuing big draws under human capital priorities, big draws under masters, PhDs. I don't expect big skills trade stream draws. Now, the federal government has been going after the provinces. First thing what the federal government did is that they cut down their nominations, they cut down their quotas, and then they also told the provincial governments that you should concentrate on temporary residents in Canada. So therefore, in most cases, you will see that their focus, Ontario's focus, is going to be on candidates who are currently in Canada, who are already working in Canada, who have support from the employer. So you will be probably be seeing more employer-driven draws if possible. I do expect that Ontario may conduct or continue to conduct their masters draws, their in-demand skill stream draws. I'm not very sure about the human capital priorities, because human capital priorities does open the door for people from outside Canada as well. And because they have always been playing it in tandem with the express entry draws, and because IRCC hasn't conducted much draws in trades or in STEM category, I'm not sure how quickly Ontario will be gearing up to conduct those draws. Now, IRCC did conduct a healthcare draw. So if Ontario was to conduct a draw, then the score in healthcare category is also going to be very high. So 503 below, and then they will come down below depending on the number of invitations. So I'm hoping that first IRCC conduct some big size draws so the express entry scores can drop, and then Ontario can conduct their segment of draws so that we can see a lower push towards the scores as well. But overall, at this point of time, the picture is a pretty dim and grim, and these are all part of the restricted quotas that Canada is now pushing towards. They want to reduce the immigrations. They want to reduce the temporary residents. So immigration quote last year was 500,000, brought down to 395,000 this year, 380 next year, and 365 the year after. So with all these reduced numbers, you will obviously see everybody else also then playing with smaller numbers or working with smaller numbers. However, having said that, all the provinces have been going to the federal government and asking for larger share of their quotas, right? What they at least had earlier. And if that is to happen, then I do expect at some point of time, Lena Diab, who is now the new immigration minister, who hasn't really made any public appearance as an immigration minister to talk about immigration aspects at all. In that aspect, I think Mark Miller did a better job of coming out and sharing information with people. Lena Diab still to sort of do something of that sort, as in coming and telling people what the hell's going on and what they're planning to do and what they should be looking to do. So yeah, at this point of time, I do expect the provinces, because from the federal government, you are seeing more and more progressive move towards assisting the provinces, okay, in their governance as well. So I do expect that they will be handing back some of the nominations back to the provinces at some point of time. I hope within this year, otherwise next year. But the problem is, if they do give the nominations or if they give the quotas back to the provinces, where will these numbers come from, right? At the end of the day, the total number, the final number of 395,000, that's not going to change. That's been their campaign promise as well, that these quotas are going to be, they will be at status quo. They're not looking to increase these numbers at all. Probably maybe decrease it, but definitely not increase it. So if they have to now extend additional quotas to the provinces, Where will those numbers come from? Means they will have to take those numbers from some or the other bucket. Now, whether it's the federal high skilled bucket, whether it's the that's it. There is nothing else left. So that provision of giving provinces that it's additional numbers will have to come from the economic pathways largely. So let's see how they play that one out. Saskatchewan has also limited its overseas immigration under the 2025 Saskatchewan quota, and they've already said that they will be taking 75% of their quotas, of their completing their quotas from inside Canada, only 25% being left from outside. Also, within the food and beverage and hospitality sector and trucking, they will be giving out only 25% of their nominations, and that also they have updated on their website that 25% has already been met for this year. Tells you that of these provinces who are at least making these announcements, that gives you a bit of an idea. But largely, things are pretty tight as far as all the PNPs are concerned. Quebec says that they are abandoning multiculturalism for interculturalism. Now, what does this mean, multiculturalism and interculturalism? Multiculturalism basically means that you're encouraging diversity. You want people from different cultures, different background to come, all live together side by side, and follow your own culture, no problem. But they are now saying that that's too much, in the sense like it's creating more divisiveness, it's creating more divisions, and therefore they would rather make it a policy. It's a provincial policy now, and make it more intercultural. And with that, they have identified that they would like people to know when they come to Quebec that Quebec has its own culture, and people should be willing to follow the Quebec's culture rather their own. Or they can practice their own, of course, but they should be willing to assimilate. And this is the way that they can then inculcate their core fundamental values as the province, and that's the new agenda. So let's see how far this one goes. Minimum wages have risen in British Columbia, but the affordability is in question because the minimum wages have now gone up to 17.85 per hour, but it is understood that the estimated living wage is $27 per hour, especially in places like Vancouver. So that still raises the question of affordability, big one. I think it's the same problem across Canada. Other than that, for the RCIP, Pictou County has now, in Nova Scotia, has revealed their priorities, and these are the occupations and industries. Now, if you realize, they are pretty much the same throughout all RCIPs. Now, the industries have been the same: the business, the health occupations, the sales and services, trades, manufacturing. It's the priority occupations that have varied between the communities. Not too much. Largely, they've been the same, but pretty much on a similar ground. And also the Clashom in Manitoba. Is it Manitoba? Clashom? No, sorry, Alberta. Shit, I don't know. I keep forgetting. Shame on me. Alberta. Why am I confusing it with Manitoba? So Clashom in Alberta has also released their designated employer list. However, their quotas are not very high. Their quotas, I think about 30 or 50 quotas is what they have. And pretty tricky there. Other news, we have other news. This was the strong border measures announced by, which has been tabled in the parliament, something to really, really look forward to. At least, I know there are different schools of thought. Some are saying that this is giving IRCC God powers as far as immigration is concerned. Some are saying that if you give them this much of power, then this will be difficult. Some are saying it's pretty good. In my opinion, I think this needs to be done. And yes, this new change, this new Bill C2 will give IRCC some powers in terms of they can change any programs, they can cancel any programs, they can introduce new programs, they can cancel applications, they can cancel documentation. If your permit has been issued, it can be canceled. Your visa has been issued, it can be canceled. All of that will give all those powers to IRCC for the sake of greater good, right? For the sake of public interest. That's what's being said. But more importantly, the two aspects of asylum claims that have been indicated which for me are if those were the only reasons I should approve it, then I should support it, then I'd absolutely do it. And this one is that it sets a 1 year deadline for asylum claims. If you're making those claims from inside Canada, if you've been in Canada for 1 year, even if you came to Canada as a visitor, stayed here for 1 year and then went away and then came back again, and now you're filing asylum, your claims will not be eligible. They will not even be accepted by IRB. And similarly, if you are entering the US-Canada border illegally and then making a claim within the 14 days period, it will again not be accepted by IRB. These are stricter measures and they are the need of the hour, must go through. Certainly looking forward to this one. Express entry is under scrutiny now. The CILA, the Canadian Immigration Lawyer Association, and certain other organizations have been calling for a lot of reforms. They've tabled a reform of nearly 100 different steps, 100 different provisions, of which one of the biggest one is that we need transparency from express entry, which is so badly needed. Nobody understands why do they skip draws. Nobody understands what their plan is. And without the lack of this plan, and I think this is the biggest, my pet peeve with IRCC, the lack of transparency. If only they can announce, let's say they can come out in the year and say, for the next 12 months, this is our calendar, this is our schedule of draws. Then everybody knows what to expect. Everybody aligns themselves. Everybody lives happily ever after. Nobody gets a heart attack when IRCC conducts a surprise draw or doesn't conduct one. Okay. The pool distribution. Now, I know we have had it for a very long time for every 10 points. Earlier, we had it only up till 500. Above 500 also, we never knew what was the distribution. Now we have it for 501 to 500 to 600 as well. But now it's about time, because the scores are not coming, that we start getting a distribution between every 10 points, even above 500. So we can understand how many people are there, at what levels, and what scores to expect for what draws. The schedules, this distribution is so important. And I personally feel express entry is due for an overhaul. And this is something that is also very badly needed. The scoring factors are not fair. The scoring factors, a Tim Hortons supervisor, food services supervisor, and an astrophysics or a neurosurgeon or a very, machine learning tech entrepreneur, they all have same priority in their work experience, as in their work experience doesn't have any differentiation. Everybody's the same. Your healthcare, your doctors, your nurses, they're all the same, whether it's a cook or whether it's them. No, I'm not saying cook is bad. I'm not saying food services supervisor is bad. But those are entry-level positions. Those are positions for you for where you don't really need a lot of experience, a lot of background, a lot of education, right? Almost anybody can do that job. However, these positions, specialized skill positions, which Canada needs so badly, you get same points. First of all, this needs to be changed for sure. Express entry overhaul. Giving more points if you have foreign work experience and less points for extra years in Canada or Canadian experience just doesn't make sense. Why won't you value Canadian work experience, right? Not valuing longer periods of work experience. So anybody who has 3 years of work experience or 5 years of experience or 8 years of experience or 10 years of experience, everybody's the same. These things, there is a huge disparity in the way things used to be and where it worked before. These things need to be changed. But at least that's what I think. And of course, you can call me names as much as you want to, but these things need some serious overhaul. Nothing's happening with IRCC at this point of time. Nothing's happening with express entry. It still plays along. But these definitely need to go. Now, did you know IRCC actually refunds money if your application is not processed on time? Did you know that, right? That they are supposed to, or they are expected to, under the Services Act, or was it a Service Fee Act? What was it? Under the Service Fee Act of 2021, IRCC is supposed to refund money that they have collected for application fees if they haven't processed it in time as per the service standards. Earlier, they had just refunded 72,000, but recently they have reported that they have now refunded $1.68 million in refunds of their application fee. Not only they are not making money, they are actually bleeding money by continuing to with all the backlogs that they have, and with this inefficient system that they have, and so many gripes that I have with the whole way, the way the whole thing is run. But that's the way they have been running it, and that's the way they are bleeding money now. So there you go. If you didn't know that, then you should know that if your application is not being processed on time, then you can claim refunds from IRCC for the application fees. That's pretty much all that I have for you. Connect with us on social media platforms. We are everywhere on all social media platforms: Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, etc., etc., etc. And yeah, if you get invited, if you have a PFL, if you get all those kind of issues, you have any services that you wish to claim, well, we are a size, I am a CICC licensed immigration consultant. We have a team of 5 other immigration consultants and many other case managers, case officers, etc., etc. And we think we are pretty decent with what we do. I would like to say quite good, but pretty decent. So if you're looking for an authorized representative for immigration applications, that's the email address, this one, support@askkubeir.com. Drop us an email, drop us a message. We'll be very happy to sort of discuss with you what we can do for your applications. And of course, if you wish to book an appointment for consultation one-on-one to understand what your queries are, what your concerns are, to sort of sort those out, then please book a consultation, askkubeir.com/appointment. Now, before you book a consultation with me, I would like to tell you that for people who book a consultation asking for pathways, asking for options, I'm usually boxed out. At this point of time, I just do not have options to offer. It's not like I have some secret, I don't have a secret key, I don't have a secret door, I don't have a secret pathway, I don't have anything that I can tell you, which in most cases you might not already know. So please don't spend your $200 for the 20 minutes of mine where I pretty much will not be able to add any value or may not be able to give you that information. But if you think you already know, but you need more clarity, but if you are not really sure about anything at all, and then you want to discuss, by all means, we can figure out a strategy if there is one to be figured out. But in most cases, my recommendation has always been the same. Look at French. You can start learning French. You can get level 7 in French. That can give you an option. You can move to an RCIP community. You can start gaining work experience in a category occupation, or you can go back to your home country and gain 2 sets of category occupation experiences, gain that 1 year of work experience, and then come back. And of course, improve your English language scores. These are pretty much the only options that exists for anyone out there. There is nothing outside this box. People who are still thinking business immigration, startup visas, there isn't anything out there. Okay, so there is one small program in BC under the rural renewal stream. There is not rural renewal, the rural entrepreneur stream. Then there is one in Alberta, but these are very, very small pockets meant for very, very few people. Startup visa. Don't be looking to spend those kind of money. In most cases, those kind of do not turn out to be the most successful one. So be very sure about what you're trying to do. And in some cases, maybe just whiling your time away at this point of time, waiting for the new changes to happen will give you some understanding. Also, millions of permits are expiring this year and next year and the year later. A lot of people will be leaving, whether I say it, whether they think of it, whether somebody tells them or not. Many people will be leaving. A lot of things that you are seeing now, they will settle down. But the scores, express entry scores, I don't see them coming down that much. I know people made a big hullabaloo about the job offer points, and they thought once the job offer points are gone, the express entry pool will become half, will become 50%. I used to always tell you guys that there are lots and lots of people in Canada who are studying masters, who are studying their diplomas. They already have the foreign work experience. They already have, or rather are gaining Canadian experience. They can score CLB 9s and 10s. People just won't understand, but those are the chunk of people who are now sitting with score of 501 and above. And I have been shouting on top of the roof to start learning French for the last 3 years, actually more than 3 years. And I've been telling you guys that French is really going to be a deal breaker or deal maker in this case. And some of you did take that advice. And I know of some people who we are representing, they did actually seriously go through it. A year and a half later, they are all now sitting very pretty with those French language scores. I'm not saying it's easy. Of course, nothing is easy. But if you really put your mind to it, if you really have that as an objective, if you really want to make Canada your home, then you got to do the hard work. This is not 2018, 2019, 2020, or 2021 pre-COVID times where anybody could get an ITA. You could have a bachelor's degree, CLB9, you could get an ITA. You didn't really need to do anything. You could just study in Canada after 12th, work for 1 year, you would get your points, you would get through. These are difficult, these are different times. Why? Because it's not because Canada raised the scores, IRCC increased. This narrative is so far from true. IRCC is not raising your scores. It's us people, you and I and everybody else who is looking for Canadian immigration. That's where what's raising. When the scores hit 413, which has been the lowest, I'm not talking about the 75 CRS, that was ridiculous. We're not going to go into that. I'm also not talking about the CEC specific draws, those were different. I'm talking about the general draw. 413 was the lowest, 31st of May 2017. That's how far back that was. 413. Anybody with a bachelor's degree and CLB 8 or 9, age of 34, 35, 36, 37, 1 year, 3 years of experience outside Canada, very easily you could get through. No problem at all. Okay. But the number of people in the pool, you know how many that were? 42,000 people in Express Entry pool when the score of 413 hit on 31st of May 2017. Only 42,000 people. Now you have more than 50,000 people above the score of 450. What are you going to do with that? Right? So it's the demand and supply equation. If the demand is going to be extremely high, the supply has been short in supply, of course. They only have so many people that they can accept each year. This is going to be an ongoing issue. Over the last 5 years, thanks to Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, more and more people became aware of Canada and the way Canadian PR process works. And everybody thought it was extremely easy. It was easy. And everybody made a headway towards Canada. I think one of the biggest problems came when we had Sean Fraser as our immigration minister. And of course, Marco Mendicino, how can I forget that as well? The 75 CRS draw, my God, that was a disaster in immigration. I mean, in immigration history, Canadian immigration history, when they do right with those blooded hands, 75 score CRS draw was the most ridiculous, stupid thing to have done. And then the next stupid thing to have done was the TR to PR. I mean, what was so bearing on you to have to conduct those programs and draws? If you wouldn't have met your PR target for 1 year, who would have complained? Who in Canadian public would have pointed fingers and said, hey, you did not complete your target for this year, you do not deserve to be a minister? Nobody would have said anything. Everybody knew it was COVID. Everybody knew things were difficult. But for you to come out and do those kind of draws, it never made sense then. It doesn't make sense. I mean, right now it is a glaring, big gaping hole in the otherwise history that you guys have really screwed this up badly, guys. And then you extended postgraduate work permits. You extended it once. I understand it was COVID. A lot of people were suffering. A lot of people didn't have jobs and they needed to be given relief. Understandable. You extended postgraduate work permit one. Why for 18 months? Why not 12 months? But you extended. Okay, fair enough. Then you extended postgraduate work permit again. And not only did you extend it again, you also told the ones who you extended earlier, they could also get an extension. Why? Then you said, spouses, you will all get an extension. You know, spouses, people who are on spouse open work permit. Now, people who took advantage of all of this, for them, I might be looking like a villain. I might be looking like somebody who's talking his mouth off. But for everybody else, you need to understand what these things did to everybody. You guys, you dropped the IELTS requirement for SDS stream in education. Okay. You allowed spouse open work permits for all tier categories. First, it was only 0, 1, 2, 3. Then they said all spouses could come. You allowed diploma mills to run all over the country. You allowed PPP programs. My God, the mess you guys created. And now the result that you guys are all facing, it's single-handedly those two guys who completely made a mess. And now we are suffering with what we have right now. Okay. Sorry for the rant, but I go through this on a day-to-day basis. So sharing it with you today. But as you can see, you know, these bandit solutions that these guys made, trying to look heroes at that point of time, trying to appease to the labor lobbies or appease to these business lobbies who needed the cheap labor. And I think it was Mark Miller, or was it Sean Fraser, who very clearly said, well, we need cheap labor, right? And how else, how better to get cheap labor than to get these international students to work? Who else is going to be working at $16 an hour at Tim Hortons and working for 10 hours and 12 hours, working through the holidays, don't care what's happening, sometimes don't even get paid. I mean, and this is what you now have, and this is what we are sitting with now. We have all these, situation that we have all these issues right now. We have this ridiculous high CRS scores, which we cannot even. Did you ever comprehend in 2021, at 2022, that even with a score of 510, you would be thinking, will I get an ITA? Should I go back? Should I start learning French? Did anybody ever comprehend that 500 score is going to be anybody with score of 500 plus would be like, will be chewing their teeth and thinking, what the hell is going to happen to me? Am I going to get an invitation? Did anybody who was studying in McGill, in University of Toronto, in any of the top Queen's University, or you name any of the top universities, did anybody then think that these people will have no chance or will have to just go back after having studied? I mean, come on. So now that we are in this situation, now that we have a new prime minister, now that we have a new immigration minister, I'm not sure which direction they are going to take. And while they sort out this mess that was created by these two previous immigration ministers, there is going to be hardship, there is going to be problem, there is going to be difficulties. Now, Mark Miller, as much as a lot of people don't like him for the reasons because he wasn't conducting draws the way they wanted, but he was trying to do whatever he could to sort out this mess. So whether it was reducing the number of international students, whether it was again curtailing the spouse open work permits, again curtailing who can get postgraduate work permits or not, these were all efforts being made to reduce these inflated numbers that the first two ministers had managed to bring in. So I thought Mark Miller was doing a great job, and I would have really, really wished that he would have been allowed to continue for another bloody 4 years, so that we could have had a better system in place. But alas, we keep getting we change immigration minister faster than your babies change their diapers, right? You had the Ahmad Hussein, then you had the Marco Mendicino, then you had the Sean Fraser, then you have the Mark Miller, then you have the Rachel Bandain, and then we now have Lena Diab. I mean, all of this within the last 7-8 years. What the hell's going on here, right? So, as you can see how frustrated sometimes I am with all these things. But I guess things will continue with the way they will continue. Things will happen the way things will happen. I do immigration as my business. I love it, and I'm very passionate about this as well. And the reason I'm passionate is because I can see how it impacts people, how it impacted me. Okay, so it all comes from me. It all comes from inside me. How it impacted me. We started a small Facebook group just with the intention of answering questions which had been bothering me. And if I knew the answers, I could help somebody else with that answer. And that's where it all started. And now, so many years later, Canada has given so much to me. I am so thankful. I'm in a position in my life where I have never ever been before. And I have held some very spectacular positions, whether it was different board of directors, whether it was different companies, different countries. I've traveled and I've lived in so many different countries. But what Canada has given me, I can't be thankful enough. I can't be thankful enough to you as the audience. I can't be thankful enough to all the people who are in our Facebook groups. I can't be thankful enough to all the clients, to all the friends, to all the people who have been part of this. And when I see things becoming more, things becoming the way they are becoming, then it hurts, in the sense like it could continue to offer all these good things to so many more people like me, who can then make this country their home and give back in whatever ways they can. And then you see things, and so many people losing their dreams over one CRS score, or 1 CRS point, or 5 CRS points, or 20 CRS points, just because somebody else who could very easily fake their foreign work experience slide through easily, somebody who could very well easily pay for Canadian payroll and get Canadian work experience and slides through, somebody who could pay for an LMIA job offer and slide through, for somebody who could pay for a IELTS exam, pay for a French exam, and those get through. Your blood boils when you see those things, but there's only so much you can do, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you just keep your head down, you keep slogging, you keep getting through, and you keep hoping that one fine day these things will get better, because somebody who has the power, who has the will, who has the intent, and has the teeth to bite into these issues and hopefully clear them out for us. Until such time, I guess we will all continue to watch me ranting on my channel about these things, and hoping and praying for better days ahead. And that's how we roll. For a lot of people who are asking for super chats, I have disabled them today because I honestly don't have too much of time to go on with. But there are a couple, and I would like to complete them before I scoot off. Tajinder says, can I get work permit approval if transfer from one knock to different knock within the same company, doing 70% supervisor duty but lack in technical duty? New job, don't require certificate. LMIA already approved. Okay. LMIA is for a specific knock code for a specific role. You can't change that. So if you have that job and you have that work permit, you can only perform the job of that knock code that is on your LMIA. You can't change. If you have to change, you need to apply for a new, your employer needs to apply for a new LMIA, and then you need to apply for a new work permit. Same thing goes for promotions. If you're getting promoted to a higher knock code or a different knock code, you can't really continue working. You cannot work automatically. Your employer needs to have a new LMIA for the new position. So if you're asking about transferring from one knock to another knock code, please understand LMIA is basically means labor market impact assessment, means your employer has been able to prove to the Canadian government they couldn't find any Canadian permanent resident or citizen to do this job, this specific job that you are doing. That's when the LMIA was approved. Now you're changing the job, and you can't use the same LMIA for a different job, because the different job also needs to be going through under the same LMIA conditions. So that's the reason. From my home country, working full-time 40 hours for a Canadian employer as a contractor, paid directly via bank transfer, no pay slips, only bank proof. Can this count as foreign work experience? Absolutely. So the difference between a foreign work experience and Canadian work experience, what is it? Canadian work experience is when you have entered the Canadian labor market, when you are competing within the Canadian labor market for the same position with other Canadians, permanent residents, and other Canadian residents in Canada. You're working for the Canadian employer. You are working with authorization in Canada under the work permit, or work authorization in Canada. You're being paid in Canada, and you're paying your taxes for your work in Canada. This is Canadian work experience. Now, at any given point of time, any of this changes to a employer or to an entity outside Canada, then it becomes foreign work experience. These are the two, and this is the fundamental difference. So, for example, if you were outside Canada but working for a Canadian employer, it's foreign work experience for you. Okay, it's the same thing. For example, if you work in India, you are doing an offshore job for Amazon. It's in the US, it doesn't become American work experience. It will become Indian. It will still be Indian work experience. Your employer is outside India, but that doesn't give you work experience of that country where the employer is based. The work is always based in the country where you are performing the job. Okay, and it could be for the employer outside of that country. That's absolutely fine. But as far as Canada is concerned, Canadian work experience, it has to be for the employer inside Canada. You have to be working here in Canada under work authorization physically, and this has to be for being paid in Canada by the Canadian employer, you competing within the Canadian labor market. That's how it will go. That's pretty much all I had for you guys. Thank you for joining in. I know there are plenty of questions and I would love to answer them, but I need to rush somewhere. That's why I had to cut the session today shorter. Please, by all means, after this live stream, please just post your questions in the comments. But during the day today and tomorrow, I will try and come back and I will answer as many questions as possible. Thank you for joining in. And for everybody who's celebrating, I wish you guys Eid Mubarak.